Hello, welcome. Today I'll be talking about the center of being and how many of us and I myself have in the past been operating from the periphery. I have been uncentered, unrooted, and without a location and a place and a time space where I can visit that is real, that is authentic, that is sincere. And, I just want to go on by saying that the periphery is where most of our consciousness operates from. We don't actually operate from a true center that we are certain, because we're always consuming and taking in information that is without of us, with is outside, and we're not actually paying attention to the things that that come up in silence, that come up in reprieve and sanctuary and isolation, that come up, the inspirations, insights, ideas, and knowledge that comes to us without even having to learn or experience anything outside of us. Because within us, there's a whole universe, and there's a whole spectrum of emotions and ideas that we can visit, and that gives us an experience without having to really go out, in the physical. And the periphery is, of course, just a metaphor, analogy for you to understand that your thinking is very physical. Okay, so when I say your thinking is physical, you think about things that are actual, that are like real. Like, you talk to a friend and he is real, and that what your conversation is real because it happened physically, right? So if you go to work, that is real. That happened. That physically happened. Like, you transported your physical body to work and to the location in time space where you conduct and do what it is that you generate an income for, and that is real. That is physical. And we go on thinking about what it is that is physical. So when we think and constantly associate our consciousness, our identity, our perspective from things that are real, that are on the periphery, that are physical, then we limit our thinking to what has already passed in our lives. Because all the physical experience that you've generated is based on memory, and you associate your previous memory, your previous experience, with a new experience that you're having now in each moment, because you only go as far as to think that the physical is the only valid, real thing that exists, like the here and now, and the stuff that you've known, and that is the periphery. We live there. Like, our society lives on the periphery of our being, because our being is really inside. Like, we can't really know where our consciousness is. Like, a lot of people point to the head or the heart, but really consciousness is this omnipotent, permeating intelligence that is within our bodies, and kind of gets more and more dissipated as you go outside, right? Because, like, you can't, you're feeling your fingers and your toes are less than kind of what you feel. This is, of course, in physical terms, right? I'm talking in physical terms, but I'm actually talking about emotions here, is what I want to talk about, because the subject, the center, the non-physical is emotions. You can't really point to an emotion. Maybe you can point to like where you're feeling anger, right? I feel anger in my stomach, but then very quickly it'll change. You'll start to feel, oh, actually I'm not really angry, I'm embarrassed, and maybe it'll come up to your heart. So it's always moving, this emotion and this mind. And this is the very idea of quantum physics. This is the idea that when you perceive something, it changes, and when you perceive an atom and a subatomic particle, it actually becomes another configuration based on your perception of it. So this is what I mean by becoming more centered and becoming more non-physical and becoming more of the subject, becoming more personal, rather than associating yourself with all the other things that you've experienced in your past, which is likely your family, friends, upbringing, the geographical place that you've lived, you've experienced before, the places you visited. These are all physical things and real things that you've experienced here in this world, in this state of consciousness. But ultimately, you don't feel the world out there. You feel the world here in the center, and you feel the world in here, right? Wherever this is. The body, people call it. The mind, people call it. The heart, whatever you want to call it, it's within you. So when I'm talking about humans operating from the periphery their whole lives, we're always operating from what we know and what we have seen and what we've actually experienced with our five senses, with our body, and that is just the surface of reality. That is just the superficial part of reality, and there's a much more deeper part of you that is untouched, that you may not be connecting with. And this untouched part of you is non-physical in nature. It is mysterious. It is not scientific in the way that you can really make sense of it, because as I've said, and as scientists are now proving, we actually change the very structure of particles just by viewing it, just by looking at it. And, I'm not going to get into the whole science of things, but that's essentially, what you're doing when you're looking inside, when you're looking at the center again, the core, the root, the beingness of what you are. You begin to experience this new, always fresh experience of now. And that subjective experience of now, it can release us really from the past and the periphery and the security of the future. And of course, that is, that's rooted in time, the past and future. And, the whole essence of you surviving in your body as you are now, with all your possessions and all your belongings. That's all past and future oriented, and how you can best really navigate your physical life. But we don't always look at how to navigate our internal consciousness, our internal reality. And within the center, within this feeling of a subject, we actually begin to transform our perceptions and our meanings that we have given the physical, the periphery. So we no longer think about the objects, the same objects that we view in our life will take on a different meaning. So that means your spouse, your husband or wife, your boyfriend or girlfriend, your child, your pets, your all your belongings, your car, your job, your parents, all these things will alter and change only by actually going inside. And there's many ways to go inside. There's many ways to go to the center of your being, but the most important thing that you need to know is not how you go to the center, but how frequently you go. Because if you're only visiting the center on weekends, or if you're only visiting the core authentic being of who you are in your part-time in spare time, then really you aren't exactly getting the benefits of the transformative and miraculous things that can happen to you when you begin to delve into this authenticity and this confidence and really this unfuckwithable attitude that is at the core, and that doesn't give a fuck about anything on the periphery and just cares about how it feels. And it could be, of course you can turn this into a selfish perspective of just caring about how you feel and not how others feel. But ultimately, the more that you are sensitive to how you feel about things, it will be inherent, and the ability to feel how others feel will be completely, lumped in there. And again, it'll be just obvious to you how others feel the more sensitive you are to yourself, because what you are is essentially the same thing they are, and you will know because what they are will communicate on various subtler dimensions and versions and methods that go transcend time and the language that it takes for them to communicate, or even change their body language, because that's a communication method as well. And the way they act is also communication. So we're always communicating with each other, both consciously and subconsciously and unconsciously. So coming back to the center and coming back to the root of your being is the ultimate attainment for you. And I highly suggest that you look no longer outside of you and begin your journey and your own self-realization and your actualization to become sincere with yourself and become more in tune with actually just about how you feel and how things are making you feel. Because the more that you become sensitive and become receptive to how things make you feel, the more you can really make the choice and be authentic to make the decisions that are going to make you feel better and the best you possibly can within. And that's gonna transform your life, because you're gonna no longer accept the old ways and the previous things that have kind of made you feel bad or negative about yourself and drained of energy. And when you actually care about how you feel more than anything, rather than the periphery and like the physical appearance of things, right? The superficial kind of surface level things, the less you care about those, the more you will become empowered in your own beingness, which is ultimately transcends time and space. So hope again that this video is just another device for you to step into your power and step into your authenticity and your sincerity and your freedom and liberation from the physical and from the assumptions and expectations that we put on the physical and the associations that we have with them. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys on another video.